So we want to find the limits of this function. This is a rational function. We want to check the value x approaching to if it's in the domain of this function. Oh, let's see. 0, it is in the domain of this function. Because if we plug in 0 into x, this is 0, this is 0, we have -1 in the denominator. So that's good. So in this case, this just equals to the function value, which is, we can write as f. If we call this f of x, this will be f of 0. This is plugging in 0, we get a 2 over -2 over -1, simplify, just 2. Or, let's see now, if this is another number. Let's see, 1. So we do the same thing. We check to see if 1 is in the domain of this function. If x is 1, 1 squared is 1, 2 times 1 is 2, 2 plus 1 is 3, 3 minus 1, 2. The denominator is not 0. So we just plug in, we get f of 1. So this whole limit equals to f of 1. What if it's a -1? X approaches to -1. Well, then this one will be -1. -1 with this will be -2. -1 squared will be +1. 1 times 2 will be 2. 2 plus -2, that causes 0 in the denominator. That means -1 is not in the domain of this function. Or to see f of -1 does not exist. So what do? We see if we can simplify this function. The numerator can be simplified, can be factored as x minus 2, x plus 1. The denominator also can be factored as 2x minus 1, x plus 1. Now we see we have a common factor in the numerator and in the denominator. Those two simplify to be 1. So I'm left with this. Now we take a limit of this. When x approaches to the same number, -1. -1 is not in the domain of this original function, but now -1 is in the domain of this function. Let's see why. 2 times -1, -2, -2 minus 1, -3. So we just plug in. So that equals to this new function value. So this is -1. We have -3 in the numerator. -1 times 2, -2, -2 minus 1, -3. -3 divided by itself is just 1. So the limit when x approaches to -1 equals to 1. Now let's change another number. So for the same reason, well, let me erase this first. Now let's change this to be infinity. Let's see what happens when x approaches to infinity. When x approaches to infinity, what do? We only take the leading term in the numerator and the leading term in the denominator. Right? If we do that, so we ignore. So I like to call this ignore rule. We ignore the lower terms, because when x approaches infinity, or negative infinity, the lower terms just, the leading term dominates. The lower terms just, don't count anymore. So the numerator, so x squared divided by 2x squared, that's just half. So the limit of this equals to half.